Hello, Podsmashers of the Internet, and welcome to another episode of
80-bit Podsmash,
where gaming goes to grab a beer. We are your hosts.
Penguin and Termite.
I am Termite.
And I'm Penguin, and did we splash something on the floor?
We splashed two little drops onto the table when we tinked. We are a weekly video game podcast, smashing together ideas that you care about with video games.
Just like we smashed our beers together and spilled them on the table.
Over a beer.
Yeah.
Exactly. And tonight we are drinking... We said I am your host. We did that.
Yeah, we did the host.
So we are drinking Sierra Nevada's Celebration Fresh Hop IPA. This is a holiday release every year. It changes slightly, ever so slightly. It's amazing. I absolutely love its hoppiness and just crispy. It's so good. It's just a solid everyday IPA, and in tradition, we will read the bottle. Yes. So the bottle has, we first brewed Celebration IPA in the winter of 1981. Each year, we use only the first fresh hops of the growing season to create this complex and robust ale. Layered pine and citrus hop aromas balance delicately against rich malt sweetness to shape this bold wintertime classic.
I feel like this is the third time in a row I've said this with IPAs that you've brought to drink on the podcast.
You like it.
I don't think it's that hoppy, though. Or I don't feel like it's that happy. So one of two things is either happening. Either you're getting IPAs specifically, either consciously or subconsciously, that are less hoppy on my behalf, or I'm just getting more and more used to the hop flavor.
You are becoming a craft beer aficionado.
No. I can be a craft beer aficionado without drinking IPAs.
That's left up for interpretation.
Whatever. It's good. I like it.
I think you are liking IPAs
I do like the pine. I can definitely get the pine, and I like that because it makes me think of gin, which I like. So
junipers.
Yep. Tonight we are going to be talking about, and this is a last-minute change-up. So if you remember last week where we didn't have a topic to share with you, it's because we were working out plans that fell through. Totally fine. We, instead of our original plan, we decided instead to do a discussion about whether you should start a game mid-franchise or not.
Yes, and I was, I don't know if we can go into this yet, but...
We don't have to, but...
The reason for the topic to exist, we'll go with that later.
Oh, no, you can go with that now.
Oh, was that I was inspired because every time, we've talked on this podcast previously about how there's so many sequels and remakes.
Yeah.
It's all sequels and remakes. Like, where are the new IPs, right?
Yeah.
Well, with every new entry in every franchise, there is a thread on Reddit or somewhere on social media. Nevertheless, it's always inevitable. It's there of... Can I just jump into this game, or do I need to play the whole series? Yeah. So I figured let's have a whole discussion about it.
Exactly. We'll talk about that.
That's why we're here tonight.
Cool.
Get it.
I did that specifically with space between it so I could cut it if it sounds bad.
Did you hear that?
What?
That's Elf.
Oh.
From Christmas.
Gotcha.
He burps really loud.
Okay, so what do we have to discuss in our little banter/news section tonight?
We are going to go, what do you plan?
We're gonna do what do you plan? It's a slow news week after the past couple weeks of it being. I feel like it's been back and forth.
There's definitely some things to talk about, but it's not.
Boom, news.
Yeah.
Slow week.
Mm-hmm.
Boom, news. Slow week. Yeah, I feel like that's been the last few weeks.
Yep.
But yeah, nothing that I particularly want to talk about. So, so instead, what I want to talk about is what do you plan?
What do you plan?
Yeah,
you have updated your list a lot.
I have.
I feel like I haven't moved at all.
It's been nuts. After a very slow game fall for me, other than Borderlands, I was mostly just replaying games over the fall or playing.
So Borderlands came out in September, and then I
played that pretty much through the end of October, and then much of November. I didn't really have anything until the end here.
Now you're loaded.
So yeah, I went from.
What are you loaded with?
I went from from famine to feast, pretty much. I grabbed when Outer Worlds came out. I wasn't sure I wanted to spend $60 on it. So what I did instead was for $1, I got Xbox Game Pass
for a month
because I wanted to try it.
Game Pass Ultimate. With PC and Xbox?
No, I just got the PC version because I don't have an Xbox, so there's no reason for me to get Ultimate. So I just got, but it's the same. It's the same deal. It's still $1 for the first month. So I tried out Outer Worlds. I'm glad I did because I did not want to spend $60 on it. So
even still,
even after playing it, I was like, this is one that I would either borrow, receive as a gift, or buy on the cheap later.
But you're not one to like Fallout.
Exactly.
Like you've tried to and want to, but didn't.
I do. Fallout is like the perfect game in my head, and then when I actually play it, it's something about the way it's designed, the mechanics of it just doesn't click with me.
And you feel like this
same was true for Outer Worlds. Okay. Yeah, that might also be due to the fact that I played on my PC, and I guess there was some like a little bit of like graphical issues, nothing too crazy, but enough that I was just like, meh, I can see how this would maybe play better on the PlayStation. So I would be willing to give it another shot on the PS4, but not for $60. Anyways, all that's just to say that because I didn't want my $1 to go to waste, I decided to grab an Xbox exclusive that I can't play any other possible way, and I picked up Sunset Overdrive.
Yes.
Because last year opened my eyes to how great a developer Insomniac was after playing Spider-Man and then following it up with Ratchet and Clank.
Right.
So I really wanted to try Sunset Overdrive, their Xbox exclusive game. It's a blast. It's wonderful. It's like Borderlands mixed with an Insomniac game because it's got that like over-the-top, self-aware sense of humor while
the same art style
ridiculous
too, right?
guns. No, it's not cell shaded.
Okay.
But or quote unquote cell shaded. It's not meant to look like a comic book, but
okay.
Still a blast. And then, as I mentioned last week, I received Pokemon Sword and Shield in the mail.
Yeah.
So I've been playing, or not Sword and Shield. I received Pokemon Shield specifically in the mail. So from my friend Justin, who was generous enough to purchase it for me as a gift for Christmas. So I've been playing that, obviously. And then I also, for myself, grabbed Jedi Fallen Order when that came out. So I've been playing Jedi Fallen Order as well.
You are loaded.
I'm loaded. Those are the 3 primary games I'm playing. Obviously, when my Xbox Game Pass lapses, I won't have Sunset, so I'm trying to finish. It's kind of prioritizing that so I can finish it and have that experience. I'm not going to like 100% it or anything ridiculous like that. I'm just going to play it and enjoy it.
Your month is ending soon, isn't it?
It's December 5th, so I still have about
a week.
9 days or something like that. Yeah.
A little
over a week, exactly. And so I actually think I'll finish it tonight because I don't have to work tomorrow. So I'm just going to
go hard.
Just go hard and finish it. I'm really close to the end, though. I'm probably 2 or 3 hours away, if that. So I'm doing all that. I'm still dipping my toe in the Borderlands pool because of the new Black Site, the Malawan raid or whatever that came out. And then I am planning on, once I'm done with Sunset and Xbox Game Pass, I'm planning on trying out Path of Exile as a possible Diablo alternative because Path of Exile 2 is announced. So that one's like right on my back burner, sitting there ready to go.
Yeah.
And I'm probably going to get games this Christmas, so I'm excited to...
You will get games this Christmas.
I will get games this Christmas. I will definitely get at the end... So part of the reason why I bought Jedi Fallen Order, this is relevant, is the aforementioned good friend Justin, he bought Death Stranding.
And you guys are going to...
And we're going to swap at Christmas. So I will play... I'm looking forward very much to playing Death Stranding as my, quote, January game. So,
nice.
Yep. Cool.
Wow. All right.
That's a lot, right? Like, it's just like, again, from famine to feast, like overwhelming feast.
Yeah,
like, I feel like I've been dragging on Pokemon just because I've had other things I've been wanting to play as well.
So I also picked up Borderlands 3 back in September.
Yep.
And that is a non-kid friendly game. So I can only play that when my kids are asleep or not around. And I just platinumed it like a few weeks ago. So it took me almost 2 months.
A few weeks ago. It was this past weekend, wasn't it? Wasn't I
it was
there?
really, it was really close. Yeah, you helped me. You were there.
You're reading from when people are listening to this. Yeah, fair enough.
And so, it took me like 2 months to get that platinum done. In the meantime, while I was playing that, I picked up the Mega Man X Legacy Collection 1 and 2, and I platinumed the Mega Man X Legacy Collection 1, because they're 2 different games, 2 separate games. So that I was playing while Sam, my son, was around, because he can watch Mega Man. It's like robots. It's kind of cartoony anime explosions. Like, that's not going to affect him. So when I have time to play games with the kids around, I was playing Mega Man. So those are the 2 primary games since we last updated the audience with what we're playing. And then I just yesterday picked up I'm in such a Star Wars, like, hype because of the Mandalorian. And I'm like, I need to play
Rise of
something.
Skywalker comes out at the end of the month.
Yes, right. We have tickets for that.
I feel very inundated in Star Wars.
Yeah, it's like of course it's planned this way. Like, right?
Yeah.
Come on, Episode 9 coming out like a month after Disney Plus when there's a brand new show and Jedi Fallen Order all timed together.
Yeah,
someone's pulling those strings. Like, it has to, right?
Yeah.
So I'm dying to play Jedi Fallen Order, but I don't have it, and I actually had to cancel some pre-orders to save some money, so I didn't buy any new games except for Pokemon Sword.
Yep.
So I played Pokemon Sword when it came out. I've been playing that on the side. Now that's the game that I'm playing with my son. And then what I'm kind of on the side playing, I picked it up yesterday, was Jedi Knight 2, which was like a late 90s, early 2000s PC game. They ported it to PS2. It's part of the like Dark Forces series.
Okay.
So it's Jedi Knight 2, Jedi
Outcast.
I'm sorry, Jedi Outcast. Yep, that's it. Yep.
That's I played the crap out of that game as a kid. I loved that game.
And I played through that, and then its sequel, Jedi Academy, was amazing.
I credit that game as being one of the things that pushed me towards the dark side, as a dark side fan.
Yeah.
Because I am now a full-fledged Sith apologist.
Right.
And one of the reasons why is because in that game, Force Choke was so satisfying. I don't know what it was, but when I got my hands on the Force Choke power, I was just like, choke everything.
There is a topic idea for an entire episode. We could just talk about Star Wars games.
Star Wars games.
Because the
Ooh,
Force
that's a good
Unleashed was amazing as well.
Mm-hmm. I do need to try it. I have Force Unleashed one on my
Steam account.
Yeah, that's it. That's the one.
So I'm now playing Jedi Knight 2 on the side of Pokemon Sword. And just kind of, that's it right now, waiting until Christmas when I get more games. And I did pick up Days Gone for Black Friday. As a follow-up to our last episode, it was on sale used on Amazon.
Don't you have Resident Evil 2 as well?
That's right. Yep. That's also on my plate. Yeah, so I'm playing Resident Evil 2. But that's, so Star Wars. That is Star Wars, I'm on the fence.
Wait till your son goes
to
bed.
I mean, Resident Evil 2 is no doubt no kids around. And I only play when it's just me.
Yeah.
Star Wars is kind of on the fence about, but because my son loves Pokemon, I've been playing more Pokemon Sword with him around.
Yeah, nice.
So, I mean, my backlog is huge. So, yeah, Resident Evil 2 is what T-Bone, my brother, shout out to him. He was on our show. He got me Resident Evil 2 for my birthday, and I paused Borderlands 3 to play that over Halloween. Totally worth it. That game is incredible. And no wonder it's on the Game of the Year contender.
Yeah.
And I'm dying to get back to that and finish it. So between that and Star Wars Jedi Knight and Pokemon Sword, those are kind of the three games that I'm currently playing. So that's Termite. That's awesome. What I'm working through.
Nice. I was having flashbacks to Resident Evil because we visited our friends who just had a baby.
Yeah.
Our mutual friend, Nathan. Shout out Nathan, who just had a baby.
Yeah.
And he was talking to me about what games he should play.
Uh-huh.
And I was telling him, I was actually, lamenting with him my frustrations about this year and gaming. Because he was talking about Outer Worlds. I said I wasn't into it, but he should try it if he's interested in it.
Yeah.
I also told him about Resident Evil because he had mentioned, he was like, I was thinking about picking up Resident Evil. I was like, dude, yes. And it was flashbacky for me because I was like, that was the game I played when my son was born. So I literally was playing that game when my wife's water broke. So it was definitely something I picked up after he was born, and I was definitely playing Resident Evil while, like in the very, very early, like post-hospital days.
Yep. So, it came out back in January.
Yeah.
It was a January
It came out in January. My son was born on February 10th. Yeah. So I was playing it a little bit later after it came out. But yeah.
Crazy good
how
game.
Long
ago that was.
But not how long ago, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like, it just feels like yesterday.
blinked.
Yeah, definitely. So, definitely. I might be rooting for that for Game of the Year. I'm not quite sure yet.
All right.
Yeah, because honestly, like, half them games haven't even played.
Yeah.
So that's going to be exciting.
Mm-hmm.
When is that? That's like
December 12th is the Game Awards.
Okay, so that's 2 weeks away, roughly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Whew. Exciting.
So I believe this podcast launches Monday before that.
Yeah.
So we would still, when this episode goes live, we won't know who won everything. But we will be live tweeting the Game Awards.
Yep.
And you can find us on all of the social media platforms if you want to follow along and interact with us during the Game Awards coming on Thursday, December 12th in the evening, or any other time if you have any questions, comments, or I say questions a million times. Questions, comments, concerns, thoughts, and ideas. Hit us up on Facebook, Reddit, Instagram, Twitter, all 80-bit Podsmash, all lowercase, no funny business, no hyphens or uppercases, just 80-bit Podsmash. And if you want to hit us up on any other podcasting platform other than the one you're currently listening to, you can find us at 80bitpodsmash.com. It's our landing site where there are links to Google Play, iTunes, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, Spotify, as well as our RSS feed link that you can plug into any third-party app.
Sweet.
So hit us up. Interact with us. And our Discord link is in every post on social media and on every episode show notes.
Okay, not even really a mini segment.
Yeah.
Predictions for the Game Awards. What's your prediction? One or two predictions for the Game Awards right now, presciently.
I have to predict game of the year. I have to, but I need to look at the 6 nominees really fast because
let me see if I can do it from memory. Resident Evil 2, Death Stranding, Outer Worlds. That's it. That's half of them. Control. That's right.
Yeah, there's 6 of them.
Oh, Smash.
Super Smash Brothers. I don't think Smash Bros could win.
Really? You don't think so?
Yeah, I just don't think a fighting game could ever win.
Yeah, I think Control won't win because it's Sekiro, that's right.
That's the 6th one. So of these 6, what does Termite think will actually win? Game of the Year.
Yeah.
Game of the Year.
That's hard. All of them are so close.
So like to me, Sekiro is kind of niche because it's so hard that
it's a
it's
Souls
difficulty,
game.
barrier of entry. It's mass appeal.
Well, so only 10%. So there's 10% of the vote that goes to the
that's true.
Players. So that's part of. So part of that. I mean, 10%'s not huge, but it's not tiny either, and could make a big difference depending on how things go.
So 90% goes to the people who are selected from the various journalist entries. Okay, those folks always focus on the emotional connection to a story. And I don't think Sekiro has that.
No, I don't think
because
so.
Because I've never heard anything about the story of Sekiro. Smash Bros, no story, no emotion. It's just a fighting game that people show up at parties and play.
Yeah, so that leaves Resident Evil, Control, Death Stranding, and Outer Worlds.
And of those 4...
I think Outer Worlds.
I think Death Stranding is probably going to get it.
All right. I think Outer Worlds might get it over Death Stranding. And
I've heard Control is a good story, but it's a little weird, like traditional Kojima Metal Gear weird. But it's hard to connect with because it gets crazy.
Yeah.
And it just loses you.
Gotcha.
Whereas Resident Evil 2, that story's been told before with a slightly different slant. No one's really praising the story. They're praising the remake.
They're praising the remake.
And then Outer Worlds...
We'll see, because this year, I will say, this year is really weak on story.
Yeah.
Other than maybe Outer Worlds. And Death Stranding, from what I've read, Outer Worlds is the only one that has had almost universal acclaim for its story.
Mm-hmm.
That's part of the reason why I lean towards Outer Worlds, if that's the deciding factor.
Yeah, those are it. I think it's going to be split between the two of us.
This year is really a example of games that are on that list because of gameplay. Because that's you've got Resident Evil on there, a masterpiece of what remakes can be.
Mm-hmm.
You've got Sekiro on there, which is some people consider it the pinnacle of where the Souls franchise is, or not franchise, but or From Software.
I mean, that's the epitome of gameplay, right? That's the high skill.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then you've got Smash, which is one of the greatest fighting games of all time,
right?
And the ultimate incarnation of it, literally.
Yeah.
And then you have they have Death Stranding, which is basically creating its whole new genre, and
it is.
And it's just I am more impressed about these games because of the gameplay than I am the stories. Whereas the past few years, it's been God of War story was so good, Red Dead Redemption was so good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But Breath of the Wild didn't win because of story either. Breath of the Wild won because gameplay. Yeah. So, we'll see.
So I'm in the Death Stranding camp. You're in Outer Worlds camp?
I am in Outer Worlds camp for now.
So we'll see who's right.
Yeah, we'll see who's right.
Mm-hmm. And that's just one category.
I have another prediction.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I wanted to... Do you have any announcement predictions?
Right, so every Game Awards, there's always a slew of announcements, new things. There are a few rumors that I was following along with, and I've now lost in my memory without looking up. So maybe you can jog my memory by what you were going to say for announcement predictions.
I think we're a shoo-in for the last DLC character for Smash.
Oh, yeah, duh. Yeah,
and
that'll probably happen.
My prediction, so I'm going to get specific here.
All right.
I am predicting... they're going to shadow drop Doom Guy at the Game Awards.
Ooh, there is a rumor going around that the last Smash Bros. Character is...
I've seen all kinds of rumors. I've seen Doom Guy as a rumor and a leak, so I take everything with a grain of salt after the Grinch leak last year.
Right? Wasn't that crazy?
Yeah, so I'm going to go... That's my personal prediction. I'm sticking to it. Doom Guy for Smash.
Oh, there's no way this is happening, but apparently it's the Gordon Freeman.
Oh, yeah.
Seriously?
That well.
That's weird.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Either one of those would be really good polls, but I think Doom is more likely just because...
it's more relevant.
Doom
right
is
now.
more relevant, and it's more historical than Gordon. I mean, Doom is at least as revolutionary to the gaming franchise industry as Half-Life.
Yeah,
at least, if not more so.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so...
we'll probably get a DLC character. That's smart.
They're at least going to announce it.
I hope
my prediction of a shadow drop might not happen, but they're at least going to announce. Yeah.
I hope there's a Metroid announcement or update.
Yes.
That'd be sweet because we haven't heard about that all year long.
Yeah, it's definitely.
There might be a Final Fantasy VII.
Bayonetta 3 would be nice to get an update
I didn't think about that.
Yeah.
There might be a Final Fantasy VII remake update, as there was a couple of screenshots that were shown off.
They showed Chocomog.
They did. They showed Chocomog, and they showed Eris's house.
Oh, nice.
And they showed some more combat, and apparently you can upgrade weapons now. So, they showed the Buster Sword and the GUI for upgrading the Buster Sword to new stuff, and they showed the materia slots, which I lost my mind. I was like,
but
it looks so good.
I don't know. They can't.
So excited.
Yeah. Whatever, it's fine. We can talk about that later. Let's move on to our next segment, which is doing this podcast is our favorite thing.
Doing this podcast is our favorite thing.
Gosh, we skipped 1 week of favorite things.
Everything's out the window.
Yep. All right. So favorite things. What's your favorite thing?
So my favorite thing this week is what I just mentioned was Woody Plern is the port of Jedi Knight 2.
Oh, nice.
And what I loved about it was there are trophies tied to difficulty. And that game's not easy. So
yeah.
if I were to try and platinum it, it would take a while, dying over and over and over again, trying to get the platinum by playing through the hardest difficulty.
Yeah.
But there's an exploit.
Nice.
Because the original PC game had cheat codes that you could enter through the console. If you press the tilde key up here, you can enter the console and do God mode and no clipping. So there is a level select cheat. Cheating voids all trophies. So there's a workaround. You turn on level select, you select the very last level, you turn on God mode and no clip mode on the hardest difficulty, and you move through the level down to the last hallway where the last boss is. Turn off no clip, so you're then walking on the floor again. You go in to fight the boss. Right when he dies, there's a slow motion kill animation, if you remember. It was like,
remember.
yeah. So you use your lightsaber like Matrix, and then so you pause it and you turn God mode off and you save the game, and then you shut the whole thing down, close out of the game, everything, load the game back up with no cheats, and then you finish the game and you get all the difficulty trophies done.
Nice.
So I did that.
Sounds completely ridiculous.
Yeah. So I got 4 trophies in like a second.
Nice.
It was awesome. So all of that is my favorite thing. So now I can put it on easy, Padawan mode, and play through the entire game the right way, getting all of the trophies. There's combat-based trophies, there's collectible trophies, and there's level finishing trophies. So now I can run through those on easy and not have to worry about dying a million times. And so that I'm having a blast with because it's ridiculously nostalgic and it's hitting that Star Wars, So, and the whole game was $10.
Yeah.
So I don't feel like I'm out like any substantial amount of money.
Nice.
So I'm excited. That's my favorite thing.
Fantastic. My favorite thing, I'm surprised your favorite thing isn't the laminate floors we put down for you.
Oh my gosh. I can't even express the amount of excitement and gratefulness I have towards the basement that is now finished. That has been a massive burden on my mental state.
Nice.
And like my overwhelmingness approaching the holidays. Our basement was gutted. It was a concrete floor with exposed cinder block walls. And thank you for your help coming over to put in new walls or new floors. Essentially, we did the floors ourselves. I hired someone to do the walls and then I painted them myself. But yeah, lots of work.
Yeah, I'm
many,
a pretty
many
great
weeks.
guy. I'll pat myself on the back for that one.
You actually worked.
Huh?
You actually worked.
What do you mean?
If you show up, you can talk and joke around and be like, yay, you like a cheerleader, but you actually worked. It was awesome.
Yeah.
So you were good help. You weren't just help. You were good help.
Nice.
Yeah.
I got
great.
B-dubs out of it, so we're
You
square
did?
as far as I'm concerned.
You're welcome.
So my favorite thing is really quick, because speaking of food-related things, my favorite thing is I dug up my mom's old recipe for scotcheroos. I don't know if you know what scotcheroos are.
I've never heard of that before in my life.
They're so good. So basically the base is like peanut butter Rice Krispies.
Okay.
And then on top, you take... You in the microwave, you melt together chocolate chips and butterscotch chips. You swirl it together into one butterscotchy, chocolatey conglomeration. And you pour it over the Rice Krispies, and then you let it cool in the fridge.
Yeah.
And it so it's like this. So it's a peanut butter Rice Krispie bottom with chocolate butterscotch, like a thick layer of chocolate butterscotch on the top, the hard end.
Yeah.
I made them. They were perfect. They're amazing.
And you made the whole tray.
You make a whole tray. You make a whole
You
9
ate
by
the whole
13
tray.
tray. I ate the whole tray. No,
Yes.
me and my
Yes.
wife and my sister-in-law ate the whole tray. And they were both nostalgic because my mom used to make them. And also
How was
delicious.
it nostalgic for them if your mom used to make them?
Oh, it's not nostalgic for them. It's nostalgic for me.
Gotcha. Okay. Wait, yeah,
I'm the one who ate most of the trays.
Yeah.
No, they were good. They're as good as I remember. It's not just one of those things where you're like, you go back and you have treats that you had when you were a kid and you're like, ew, too sugary. No, they're as good as I remember them being. And it was also nice because it was like, I can make these now. I know now how to make these. I have a recipe that I can know how to follow, and I know that I can do it well. So it's gonna be one of my new go-to recipes to make.
Sounds awesome.
So maybe you'll see them at like a Super Bowl party or something.
How about that? We're having that little brunch on Saturday.
Oh yeah,
Hey.
scotcheroos.
They're called scotcheroos.
That's what my family called them. I don't know
because
whether
butterscotch.
Because the butterscotch
Okay,
on top.
that makes
Yeah.
sense.
So I don't know.
Dunkaroos. Remember those?
Yes, I do.
Yeah,
so
it's like
good.
Dunkaroos and
I don't know if there's an
butterscotch.
actual name for the. I don't care what the actual name for them might be.
Peanut
My
butter Rice
family called
Krispie
them
treats covered in
scotcheroos.
chocolate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. All right, that's favorite things. Now we can move on to our next segment, which is
DLC.
Downloadable content is a segment of our show where we just kind of have a little fun mini discussion about games that you might never have had before. So today's has nothing to do with our main topic. It was just something that I thought would be fun. So basically, we're going to pick, well, you can choose. Do you want to pick a serious video game character or do you want to pick a goofy video game character?
I'm gonna go with Goofy.
You're gonna go Goofy? All
Yeah.
right, I'll pick a serious video game character. You'll pick a goofy one. And we'll reverse basically the styles.
All right.
So we'll conceptualize what a game with the serious character would look like if it was a goofy platformer. And we'll conceptualize what a serious game would look like with the
Goofy
platformer character or whatever.
Sweet.
So my serious character, since it's off the top of my head, is going to be Jill Valentine.
Ooh,
from Resident Evil 3. Yes. Since we were talking about Resident Evil so much, it's in my head. So what would a goofy platforming, or it doesn't have to be platformer, but a goofy, lighthearted game look like? With
so
Jill Valentine?
It would be an 8-bit side-scrolling beat-em-up game.
Okay.
Reminiscent of like Double Dragon or like Battletoads. And it would have Jill, and she would have her. So it would kind of play like Contra a little bit with the shooting mechanics, and like you pick up power-ups that are different weapons, zombies all over the place with little health bars.
But it has to be cute, so the zombies have to be like plants.
This is all like Scott Pilgrim-esque, like animations.
I was thinking like the zombies would literally be like the zombies from Plants vs. Zombies. Where they're kind of like,
yep, that exact,
zombies.
Yeah, but all like 8 or 16-bit, maybe tops, kind of art style, like retro-themed, side-scrolling. Have you ever played River City Ransom? That's exactly what I'm thinking about.
I picture you have to, like, character-wise, if we were to change up her character to be a little bit more cartoony, I picture her kind of looking a little bit like Princess Peach, but with Jill Valentine's clothes.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of.
Like, just kind of like the big eyes, like the big Disney eyes. Or like maybe
definitely.
like Elsa or Anna or something like that, one of those Disney princesses, but just with like... normal people clothes,
and it would have like beeps and boops that are like high pitched and like bubbly. Instead of like Resident Evil grunge. That's exactly what Jill Valentine would be doing.
Nice.
Yeah.
What would it be called? Jill's Pilgrimage. I don't know. It couldn't be Resident Evil.
No, it should not be. Yeah. I have no idea what it would
Jill
be called.
versus zombies.
Horrible with. Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Jill versus zombies.
Jilly Nights, like Chilly Nights. I don't know. All right. Now you pick a goofy character.
My goofy character is Boogerman from the Sega Genesis.
Boogerman?
Yeah.
All right. So what would a serious...
He is a caped crusader that is like throws his boogers as projectiles. He's a very goofy character.
Okay, so like if he's like a superhero character, I imagine that like you take that idea of superhero Boogerman and you make like Alan Moore Dark Knight era Batman.
And you can do it just like Arkham Asylum.
And
Arkham City. If you played those games, they're very serious.
Where he's got like
super dark and
he's like you just make whatever his costume looks like, add like body armor to it that's like covered in like this green goo.
Boogers,
but it's not necessarily explicitly boogers. It's just this green viscous fluid.
It just looks gross. It was a very like fart, like potty humor game. So you could turn all those into more serious things. Where like.
The farts are chemical weapons, obviously.
Right, yeah.
That's spelled F.A.R.T. and it's,
Right. It has some acronym for like...
ferrous,
phenol...
acidic,
yeah.
radioactive, Terrigen.
Something, nuts, right? Like scientific names for all of his crap, his bioweapons,
That's great. I like that.
I like
That's
it too. You little utility belt. You can throw out some...
I suddenly want both of those games, actually.
Have you ever played Boogerman?
No, I haven't.
Yeah, it's fun.
That's fun.
I wish I had a copy, but I don't.
That's something for it's a wish list right there.
Yeah, it's on our list of things. My brother and I share a spreadsheet of all the things we want to put in our archive. So we have a list of every game we want to buy for each platform and how much they cost.
Cool.
So
all right. Well, all those segments took longer than I expected them to.
They did, didn't they?
That's DLC for the day.
Probably good. Meow, meow, meow. Mang, 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 mang.
Our main topic tonight
is
starting a game mid-franchise.
Starting a game mid-franchise.
Right. So fortunately, all of those words should make sense to normal people, so I don't think we need to worry about starting with any kind of definition.
Starting a game.
So let's just talk about it then. What does mid-franchise mean? Okay, so we'll start with a simple question. Is it possible to pick up the latest entry in a franchise that is already several entries long?
And this
kind of
is the crux of our conversation.
It is. Really, we're jumping right into it.
In the modern era of video games, I feel like in the last 10 years, so it's 2019, this decade from 2010 to now, I feel like new entries in existing franchises are always made from the bottom up, from scratch, so that any player can jump in. And I feel like the developers and publishers do this because you want as many people to buy your game as possible. You want to include everyone.
That is an opinion.
Yes,
I don't know if
right.
if it is universally accurate.
Right.
And part of it's because we live in a world of entertainment now.
Mm-hmm.
Think about all the entertainment that we consume, not just video games, but you have all these you have TV shows where it's like now, TV in the 90s and in the 80s and before that, before TV's kind of golden age in the early 2000s onward, TV used to be like X-Files would be like, here's a self-contained story episode each week that has like, they would have overarching stories, but it would be like each episode you'd move like an inch on that bigger story.
Yeah.
And most episodes would be a self-contained story. You could jump in at any point. You could miss an episode. No big deal.
Yeah.
Like now it's all Game of Thrones, Breaking Bads, Mad Men, where it's a single story told over the course of multiple seasons, where if you just jump in season 3, you don't have any idea what's going on.
Right.
So, and the movies too, like movies, it used to be you go see a movie and it would be, maybe it would be a sequel. So maybe you have to watch one. Mm-hmm. But now if you just watch any Marvel movie, like sure, if you're starting with an origin story like Ant-Man 1, then yeah, sure, you can probably follow along. But if you're jumping in any sequel,
yeah, it'd be a little more difficult.
It's more difficult. It's at least more difficult than it used to be to just jump into it and go see a movie.
And video games went the opposite direction.
But I don't know if they have universally. I think in a lot of ways, I think that you're right that they intentionally try it because, as we talked about before, it's not apples and oranges, video games to movies or TV. Like, there's a little bit more of time investment involved in getting involved in a video. It's like, on a scale of time investment, it's like movies are the lowest, TV shows are next, and then video games are the highest. So
video games take the most time, right?
They do take the most time.
And movies and TV shows exist on streaming platforms that you pay a monthly subscription for, and they usually give you the entire thing that you can consume at your own pace.
Yeah, for one cost, as opposed to video games you have to buy or find a way to get a hold of the previous entry. So yes, I do think that game developers have more motivation to make each entry
standalone,
or not necessarily standalone, but accessible.
Able to jump,
because it is. I do in some ways feel bad for their plight because they both have to we have fans of this franchise, so we have to reward the people who have put in the time and have invested while also still making it accessible to new players. Mm-hmm. It is something, and that's why I think those competing motivations, I don't think they always get it right, but I agree though they have a motivation too from the start.
The ubiquitous answer to the question of, can I just get this new sequel now and start, is always yes. It's always yes, just go get the newest game. And you can look at this year alone, and we had Kingdom Hearts 3, Resident Evil 2, The Division 2, Rage 2. That was the first quarter of the year. And all of those games completely, yes, just go jump into Kingdom Hearts 3, which is ideally the epitome of the most convoluted, crazy franchise you've ever met, with games across Nintendo platforms, PlayStation 2, Nintendo 3DS, Nintendo DS, PSP, cell phone, mobile games. I mean, if there's any franchise that exists on every platform, it's Kingdom Hearts. It's everywhere. Yeah, it's almost impossible to have consumed the entire thing. And yet you could grab Kingdom Hearts 3. I've talked to people who have, who bought that as their first Kingdom Hearts game and liked it. They followed along exactly what happened. There's enough catch up and enough recap happening. Resident Evil 2 Remake, totally standalone. You have no reason to ever think about the other 20 Resident Evil games out there. Just grab Resident Evil 2 and have fun.
It did make me curious, specifically because I'm blanking on her name. The girl,
Claire.
Claire Redfield is Chris Redfield from the first one. Right. So actually,
brother sister.
Yeah, her story made me more interested in Resident Evil 1 as a result. Yeah. But that's exactly what a sequel should kind of be story-wise structured, where it's you can follow along with the story, and it should make you more curious for the other. They should have enough tantalizing information to make you curious about the previous entries, but not feel like you're lost as a result of it. That's kind of the perfect middle ground. Enough for the fans to be like, ooh, but enough for...
Borderlands 3 nailed it too. Same deal. You could play Borderlands 3 from the beginning, and there's enough recap to understand what happened in the past. Oh, these things happened in these other games. They told me what happened and caught me up. I'm good.
Yeah. I will slightly disagree on your answer, though, in regards to, as I hinted at earlier, I don't think it's ubiquitously yes. I do think that...
No, I haven't heard an answer of no in the last 5 years or so.
I wouldn't necessarily... I don't know. I'm torn because on the one hand, there have been plenty of games that I have said no to because I haven't felt like figuring it out. Now, granted, we live in the age of the internet. There's YouTube exists, and on YouTube I could type in Kingdom Hearts story up till now or whatever,
Right.
you know
And
what I
watch a
mean?
20-minute video and
exactly,
be done.
and be caught up. Same thing with any game, but
Yep.
you know, it is there is even more of an ease than there had been in the past since you know my life, but still, I mean, there have been plenty of franchises where I'm like, you know, like Far Cry is a great example. I'm like, I would love to play Far Cry 5. But I would feel like I would want to have.
No, you don't need to know. Like,
I know
perfect.
you don't need to,
Right.
but I don't think it's.
Those
I
are definitely isolated enough
I think
from
there's
each other.
still enough, and that's what. Yeah, that's kind of the answer to our next. Oh no, sorry, we don't have that question. Oh, I guess no, we do have that question. Why are we sometimes hesitant to do this?
Yeah.
So it's actually a few questions down. So we'll go ahead and skip that question when we come back around to it.
Yep.
Why does there exist a hesitancy? Because you know the very fact that is asked every time a new game comes out.
Right.
Implies that
people want to
is-
know, like, what's going on.
Yeah.
Far Cry 5. There's 4 other Far Cries. Where did this come from?
Yeah.
Like, what is this about?
Uncharted.
Do I need Final
and-
Fantasy 15. Can you imagine how, like, someone who's never touched a Final Fantasy game, or like, Final Fantasy 15, there
Yeah.
are 14 other games I have to
Right.
play? Absolutely not. They're
I
all
think it's
completely...
it's as much to do with I think
contained.
it's as much to do with gameplay as it is story too. Like you want to know that like, or at least I do. I want to know that if I'm going to pick up Luigi's Mansion 3,
yeah.
I'm going to. There's something that's magical about sequels for video games is you get to kind of see how the gameplay evolves over time.
Yeah.
And you get to either be in one camp or another where you can be like, this sucks. It used to be so much better than these other games. And you get to kind of bond with people as a result of that. You know, there's sort of a bonding that happens over the commiseration over how the new entry sucks. Or it's, oh my gosh, this is building upon something, like they're building upon the foundation they've laid.
Yeah.
And there's a bonding that happens over that too. And so there is, I can definitely say that like sometimes I'm hesitant, and I can understand why some other people would be hesitant, because it's not just story. Again, I can look up story on YouTube. It's the sense of like, will I feel part of this community, part of this, why people love this game if I'm just picking it up now as opposed to having played the other entries and getting a sense as to what this franchise is about, not just story wise, but what is it about gameplay wise.
People who ask that question, who feel that way, are the minority.
They are definitely
Right. Like the people who are listening to us talk about that might do that.
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
But the majority of the sales, like when you hear, oh, Call of Duty sold $600 million worth of copies, no one of those people, the masses, are asking, oh, this is the 10th Call of Duty game that has come out. You know, should I play all of them? And no one's asked. They're just like, oh, there's a new Call of Duty. I'm going to get that.
Yeah.
There's a new Battlefield. I'm going to get that. Or there's a new Luigi's Mansion. Oh, that sounds fun. It's on the Switch. Sure, it's the first Luigi's Mansion on the Switch. I'm going to get that.
Yeah.
And they don't even think twice about 1 or 2.
Right.
So, yeah, this is like a question that
It is
only
very-
people who care about video games are going to ask.
Yeah.
And it's by design, right?
Yep.
Because you look at a capitalist market, like you want to make a game that's going to sell the most copies to
Yeah.
as many people as possible.
Yeah.
So you want to lower that barrier of entry as much as possible, and you want to catch people up somehow, whether
Yeah.
it's by a small recap in the game or it's like, this is so distant from the rest of the entries in the franchise that it stands by itself.
Yeah, there's tons of different strategies that developers will use. They'll do things like, I mean, Final Fantasy does it by just each game is its own self-contained world that has no connection to previous worlds.
Right.
Other entries will do it by like, this sequel is now from the perspective of a side character, or this story is like, yes, it's the same character like Uncharted, but it's its own self-contained story.
Yeah.
Tomb Raider does the same thing. So there's all kinds of different strategies, but I think that I'll also like answer that hesitancy of myself by like talking. I've been hesitant because we have a whole question about it. I've been hesitant to bring up personal examples.
Yeah.
I think what we'll find when we discuss what are some personal examples of games that you have picked up mid-franchise, I think we'll discover that even I have had that experience before. So a couple that come to mind were a couple that I mentioned earlier. I started with Borderlands 2, and there were some things that I was like, again, it was that thing where it's like, I'm following the story, but there are things that I'm intrigued about. Like, I didn't know, for example, that Lilith, Brick, Mordecai, and Roland were the playable characters in 1 until I looked into it later. And I was like, oh, it was a pleasant discovery. So that was kind of cool. So I picked up Borderlands 2. BioShock Infinite was the first BioShock game I played. And that one, for sure.
Goodness.
I definitely don't think I didn't even feel the need to play BioShock 1 and 2 until much, much later. Because it was its own, more or less self-contained story with just sort of shadows and subtle references to the previous games. You have any examples? You don't have
I am
to.
racking my brain right now to figure out a game I entered mid-franchise, and oh my god.
Red Dead Redemption 2 is another one for me. I didn't play 1. at all?
Well, the first one's like Red Dead Revolver. I never played that either.
Red Dead Revolver, yeah. But then, if you started with Red Dead Redemption 1, then you did start mid-franchise, yeah.
And I didn't feel like I was missing anything at all.
I mean, BioShock, even if you started with BioShock 1 and 2...
I'm looking at the game wall behind me, and I'm like,
Shock.
I started with the first game of every franchise I can think of. Maybe Mega Man, because I started with Mega Man X. I never played any Mega Man game on the NES until way after, and so those are all totally standalone games.
Did you start with Zelda 1? Was that the first Zelda game?
The very first Zelda game I ever played was Link's Awakening.
There you go.
Yeah,
that's a mid-franchise,
and I love that. But Zelda's also known for being separate enough that each game is.
That's true. Yeah,
it's like Final Fantasy almost.
Yeah,
it's its own Link even. It's like every Link is different from every game. But yeah, I'm like racking my brain. Like
did you start with God of War 1?
I did.
You did?
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
I did. God of War 1, 2, and 3, and 4.
I did too, to be fair. But,
although
I skipped 2 entirely. I went from 1 to 3. I knew enough of what happened in 2.
I guess I started with Final Fantasy 7. Like, I never played any Final Fantasy game before
Final
that.
Fantasy is kind of like...
But yeah, that's the epitome of being a separate thing.
Its own,
with every game. Man... Halo, Fable,
here you are,
Mario.
Like, it's totally possible to pick up games. You don't have the experience of doing it.
Yeah, like
whereas I'm on the other side of the coin. I'm like, I literally am arguing reasons why I wouldn't want to start a game mid-franchise, having actually done it multiple times.
The first Warcraft game I ever played was Warcraft 2. So I missed the first one and didn't care.
Right,
it was
but
fine.
The story was so shallow.
Right.
Everything was so shallow.
Yeah, it was fine.
But all right, cool. Well, let's move on. If you have other examples that come to mind, that's totally fine. What were the results?
Yeah.
We kind of have to talk about that. Did you feel the need to play all the other entries, or were you content with just the one that you started on?
It's always just like, Persona 5 is an example of a game I'm dying to play right now. And I saw gameplay footage, and it's everything I ever wanted in an RPG, a Japanese RPG that's like active time battle, like menus and stuff. Not an action RPG, but a legit like JRPG. And I have no pressure to play 1 through 4 at all. None.
Yeah.
They interest me.
But that's weird because, I picked up, I did start with Red and Blue Pokemon.
Yeah.
But having picked up, I stopped playing after Gold and Silver and haven't played a Pokemon. So there's 6 Pokemon games that I missed out on.
Yeah.
And I'm starting Sword and Shield, and there is a part of me that wants, like, I've been thinking, I'm like, you know what? I could grab I have a Game Boy Advance, so I could totally get Ruby and Sapphire. My sister-in-law was planning to give me her 2DS anyway, so I could get up to, I think, X and Y.
And Alpha Sapphire and Omega Ruby.
There you go. Yeah,
and
so
Pokemon Sun and Moon.
So I'm like, I'm like going through my head. I'm like, but do I really want to do that to myself? Do I really care enough? I don't think I will.
Yeah.
But I can understand that desire to be like, I kind of want to go back and play these.
Ooh, the 2DS is backwards compatible with DS games, so you can get Black and White 2.
I've decided. I have.
Heart Gold,
sorry, I have
Soul Silver,
definitely.
Diamond,
there was a part of me that wanted me to
Pearl.
play RDR1, Red Dead Redemption 1, after finishing 2. So I definitely like. I understand it. I did. Sometimes there have been some times that I did go back and play after starting mid-franchise. Borderlands, I had to end up going back and playing 1 when I was able to, when they did the remaster of it. BioShock, I started with Infinite and then ended up going back and playing 1 and 2. So I'm not going to say I always feel the need.
Yeah.
Or I'm definitely going to say I definitely don't always follow up on the feeling of needing to do it, but I definitely can sympathize with the desire to go back and play it. And if I were to play Persona 5 and like it, I would probably be interested in looking into Persona's 1. But then there are some game franchises I don't. Like Fallout, I had no desire to go back and play 3.
Yeah, those are all separate.
Yeah, exactly.
I did have a desire to go back and play 3. Not because of the story, but because, I love 4. I hated 3. But I love 4, so like now I know I'm going to like 3. I need to go back and finish that because I know it's a game I'm actually going to enjoy. Yeah, but the stories are separate with those because whenever the nuclear bombs went off, each city was affected differently, but at the same time. So Fallout 4 is in Boston, Fallout 3 is in, is it DC? Yeah, Washington, D.C., and then Fallout New Vegas is in Vegas, Fallout 76 is in West Virginia, but it's the first one chronologically.
Yeah.
But so, like, each of them are separate enough that, like, you don't have to play either one. Same with Elder Scrolls, Dragon Age. Like, you don't have to play through them sequentially. You can just jump in wherever you want, and that's by design. Like, games are so expensive, and the budget behind them and the expense of them, the risk is so high to make a game at a AAA level that you have to make it accessible to everyone. And so they're designed that way. And the sequels, existing entries and franchises are just, it's ubiquitously, just go play the newest one. Like, whatever. Just go grab that off the shelf. You'll be fine. You can look up a Wikipedia article or read a YouTube or watch a YouTube video on the story if you care, but it's mostly a self-contained thing.
Well, are there any franchises out there that you look at and you are intimidated by how many entries there are?
I can't think of any.
Okay.
Maybe you can help me prime the pump a little bit, but I mean, really can't.
There are some for me, but it's not so much due to the like entries. It's more due to like that balancing act of like, do I care enough about trying this game to want to invest in looking into the other ones, or even the entry stuff. So like, I'll use Far Cry as an example. Do I find Far Cry 5 interesting enough that I would want to risk investing in the other ones as well, or trying to find the other ones, get a hold of the other ones as well? I don't know. I mean, I don't always. I kind of just play what I want in general.
Yeah.
Like one of my philosophies on gaming is it's most fun for me if I'm not treating it like a job, because I think I have tendencies to do that, and so sometimes I have to squash that. So like, unless it's actively going to be fun for me to go back and play those games, like again, some of the times I have gone back and played the previous entries and franchises, I have enjoyed it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, BioShock and Borderlands being two of the best examples of that.
Mm-hmm.
But then sometimes it's like, okay, well, am I just doing this for some weird sense of like obligation? Like I feel obliged to play like RDR1, for example. I'm like, I think I would only play it because I would be obliged to. And maybe I would enjoy it, but the feeling of wanting to do it's like, I'm just content playing RDR. You know, I was content playing RDR2. So,
yeah.
But I don't know if I would feel that way with 5 or not. So part of me is like, I'm just not going to pick up 5 at all. I'm just not going to pick up the Far Cry franchise at all because I'm not interested in it so much that I...
And those are all separate stories like Final Fantasy.
Yeah.
So you could totally play 5.
Yeah,
and there's no connection.
Yeah. But again, it's not just story, it's gameplay as well. Do I want to feel like and that's part of it too. I think that might be the crux of the point I'm trying to make. And by the point of my disagreement is there's something about understanding a franchise as a whole versus understanding just a single entry in a franchise. Like, I want to be able to say, I know what Far Cry is about. I know what BioShock is about as a franchise. What connects these games? What is the through line? Mm-hmm. What makes a BioShock game as opposed to just...
You care about that.
A game.
And so it's intimidating to enter a franchise because you care about that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I can share that same sentiment. Yeah. It just doesn't stop me from playing the latest entry.
All right.
But I also agree because I'm a nostalgist, if that's even a term. Like you're sitting in a room full of games from the 80s through today, probably like an amazing video game collection that my brother and I have amassed over years, right? Like it's my passion. I talk about retro games for hours. That's part of the reason and the incentive for this podcast is like I'm all about looking back, drawing comparisons to what happened in the 80s, 90s, aughts. That's why we do that series of gaming in the decades, looking at developers over the years and what their strategies are and what the types of games they make are and how the gaming industry has evolved over the years. Like, I am all about that. So when I hear Far Cry 5, I'm like, well, the last Far Cry game I played to any like value is Far Cry 2.
Oh, wow.
So I played 1 and I played 2.
Yeah.
I skipped 3 and 4, dabbled in 3, but never played 4. Would I play 5 if I had the time? Absolutely. But I'm with you. Like, I would want to know the trend through all of those Far Cries to see the similarities there.
Yeah, because we talk all the time. We're like, it's like a Mario game.
Right.
But
Far Cry hasn't defined its own genre.
Yeah.
It's just an open world first-person shooter.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's open world first-person shooter. So, but again, when you're comparing and contrasting franchises, when you're discussing about trends in the video game industry, which again, maybe it's only a result of my time doing the podcast. Maybe if we had never started the podcast, I wouldn't have cared.
Right, you might not have.
But
a perfect example of exactly what I'm talking about is Assassin's Creed.
Oh yeah,
because there was a time, and remember how I said in modern gaming, there's a less dependency on the past. Initially there's not, man. So Assassin's Creed 1, 2, and 3, I feel like if you want to play those, you need to play them in order. And you have to go back and you have to do that because there's this whole like meta thing that's going on. Like each game is set in a different era historically.
Yeah.
The first one is like the Crusades, the second one's in Italy, and the third one's the the Revolutionary War in America.
But it's all just a guy in a computer.
Right, exactly. And like, to understand that, and there's like different factions and stuff, that's intimidating because you need to know that. But if you just jump into Odyssey or Origins, which are the two most recent ones, those are so isolated from the rest of the franchise, you just jump right in.
Yeah.
And like that's exactly what we're talking about because I care enough about story and through line, like you just said, that I won't start Odyssey or Origin until I play the first, second, and third and fourth Black Flag, at least. There's a lot of spin-offs. There's like Brotherhood and Rogue and all these other ones that I'm not worried about. But yeah, so that's exactly the franchise that epitomizes what this entire discussion is. Like early on, you had to play them all. Now, just jump into the Odyssey. Like it's ancient Greece whatever, it's fine. Play your character. You're making your own character at this point. They've added so many RPG elements. It's so different from the original games. It's not this open world. I mean, it is open world exploration game, but now there's like side quests, and before it was just not. It was like collectibles and open world. I don't know, but I haven't played them. Another example of that is Mass Effect. Mass Effect 1, 2, and 3. You finish the first one, the save file actually was imported into the sequel, so that decisions you had made in the first game affected the second one.
Yeah, that's a great example because that's one that I have started and have dropped because I just I can't get through the first game.
It's so hard.
I want to
not
play
difficult hard, like dry and boring hard.
Yeah, exactly. It's not a great game, but I've heard the franchise in general 2 and 3 are so much more fun and much more enjoyable.
Right.
But it's exactly what you're talking about. It was designed, and that's a great pull because that's a game that clearly was designed to not start mid-entry, even if they may want you to. Mm-hmm. The whole fact of you're
able to do that.
Sure, you are capable of doing it, but clearly the whole idea of having a save file, having a character that follows through the entire, it's it's choices you make at the beginning of the game will affect choices you make in the third. The options you have available to you in the third one, stuff like that. So it's yeah, I don't want to rob myself of that experience. That's a great pull right there. Because that, in my opinion, in my mind, epitomizes the opposite of what we're talking about. Where there's all these games where, yes, you can, games like what you're talking about now, games that come out now are a little bit more ubiquitously what you're talking about, where it's most of them are designed to enter mid-franchise.
Right.
God of War is a great example, but God of War 1, 2, and 3.
You had to play those in order.
Yeah, because they tell literally it's a cliff. God of War 2 picks up a cliffhanger that happens at the end of God of War 1. Yep. You know what I mean? And same with God of War 3. Mm-hmm. So it almost does seem like there is a dichotomy between how it really is when games started telling stories in the 2000s,
right?
And so there's this only narrow window of time because before all games were just, they could barely tell stories if they could tell them at all. So it was just kind of doop, doop, boop, boop, boop. You know what I mean?
Each game in the 80s and 90s were separate.
And even if they were part of a franchise, they were really kind of designed with whatever shell of a story they had was really just an excuse to have you go jump on turtle sets.
But I feel like the 360 and the PS3 era were when it was tight and you had to play through all of them. And I'm thinking of more franchises now. You keep talking. So Resistance. Resistance was a PlayStation 3 exclusive.
Yeah.
There's 1, 2, and 3. Those are sequential. There's Killzone, also PlayStation 2, and then into PlayStation 3. So Killzone 1 was PS2. Killzone 2 and 3 were on PS3.
In my head, I picture all of these games almost the same. They probably are very different games,
and you need to play through them
dark,
all.
gritty shooters.
Right, they are. Exactly. And you have to play through those in order. And so, again, that's highlighting that era of gaming where Assassin's Creed was also that generation.
Yep, exactly.
Mass Effect was that generation.
Yeah. BioShock
Dragon Age
was that generation.
And you have to play them in order, and they're drop-off cliffhanger endings that pick up where they left off to flesh out the story.
So it's kind of funny that we just discovered this. It's kind of funny that we
discovered this.
I did. We both did. It was together. It was a team effort.
I was the one that said it from the beginning, that in this generation of gaming, we are now in a spot where every entry that's a sequel, you can just jump in because they're made
but that doesn't
way.
Change the fact that especially some of these long-running franchises have entries that are both. They have entries where you're you can't just... Some of these longer standing ones that have existed since the early 2000s, you can't just say, I'm going to pick up and I'm going to reach into a bag and pick up any number, pull out the number, I'm going to play that number of that franchise. Right. Assassin's Creed 3, whatever. You might want to play one and 2 first, to get, but then again, if you reach in the bucket and pull out Origins, then you don't need to, you know what I mean? So there is, yeah, I guess if the question is, can you pick up the latest entry in the franchise? Usually these days, 95% of the time.
The Witcher 3.
Yeah.
It's perfect because I never played 1 and 2, but 1 and 2 are linked. You can't play 2 without 1.
Yeah, I did grab 1 and 2. Actually, I think I only grabbed 2. I think I have 2 on my Steam library.
Yeah.
I started playing it and was I'm confused and don't care.
Right. Because you should have played 1.
Yeah, but 3
But 3 you can just pick up. That's the only entry I've ever played.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. We kind of already talked about how games are designed to allow for mid-franchise entry, but we can talk. We can finish with that. Zoom in on different other strategies. So the ones we've talked about already are having stories that are independent of one another. So that's Zelda,
Final Fantasy. Yeah.
We've talked about the strategy where it's each entry is kind of its own episode, kind of like X-Files style Monster of the Week, where each entry is yes, it's got connecting characters. But the story from start to finish of this episode is, it tells the beginning, middle, end. That's The Witcher, that's Tomb Raider, that's Uncharted. Are there any other strategies that you can think of where
the recap idea.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's like, this is so far removed chronologically from the events of past games, but here's a recap of what had happened to kind of set the context. Borderlands actually does that.
We'll do that, yeah.
So Borderlands 3 has a whole like synopsis of what happened in the other games.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, to give you kind of
even
each Borderlands entry,
right.
yeah, it did that. Yeah,
and Borderlands 2 did that with the first one. The pre-sequel did it with the first two, and now 3 does it with all of them. And so, like, yeah, you start a new game, and you're met with some sort of cinematic that highlights what had happened in the world prior, leading up to this event, and then you're like, oh, okay, well, I got
cool.
the context.
I got enough context to carry me through and keep me interested.
And then there's the Ratchet and Clank strategy of a reboot, where it's like, we're going to retell the first game again. And I guess lots of reboots are happening. We have Shadows of the Colossus, which was remake, Resident Evil 2 remake, but reboots, I guess we had an episode about remakes and reboots. There's not a whole lot of reboots that I can think of.
No, I feel like a lot of them are just one-offs.
God of War is almost
God of War's kind of a soft reboot, yeah, for sure.
Soft reboot, but it's also a sequel, because you're supposed to know his history. And they briefly touch on that, but you don't really need to know.
Exactly,
So...
Yeah, that's the strategy. Yeah,
I think highlighting all of that is just the recap strategy of like, here's the intro to what happened.
Yep. I think that, kind of with what God of War does, it's a little bit more nuanced than a recap, because they don't actually recap it, they just jump you right in.
Right.
Where it's nuanced, or how it works is regards to like, this is the same character, this is a new episode, but like, it is so far, again, down the line of his life that's like, all you really need to know is that he had a troubled past where he killed a bunch of gods.
Right.
And they give you enough of that context in the story over the course of the story.
Well,
so like weaving
you also need to know that
narrative.
he murdered his own family by being manipulated by God and discovered that he was being tricked.
But they weave that into the narrative. So they reveal that at points in the narrative. So for a new player, they can kind of take the perspective of Atreus. For the veteran player, they already know that going into the story, so that's
genius.
All those hints.
No wonder that game won Game of the Year. It's so good.
Again, so that's like that is something that storytellers will use, whether it's book writers, movie writers. Like that's what they'll use to do that exact same thing in later entries. Is like it works on both counts. It works for the old players because they see the hints of it. They see when Kratos makes meaningful looks at his son, they know what's going on in his head because they've been in his head for the past 3 games. For the new player, they know enough to understand that something has happened to him tragic in his past, but it then gets revealed later, so they get to take the perspective of Atreus.
Yeah.
It's genius in that regard.
Yep.
Another strategy that's the opposite of that complex, like, subtle storytelling is to just tell a really simple story. Like, I think of any Mario game or even Luigi's Mansion. The game is so simple. All you really need to understand is like, Luigi keeps getting invited to these mansions anonymously and runs into a bunch of ghosts.
Right.
Mario keeps running into Bowser, who keeps
kidnapping Peach.
Is very simple. Yeah.
If you notice, Nintendo games over the years, all of their franchises have been like, just jump in, it's fine.
Yeah.
Even Metroid, which is probably the least.
Oh yeah, probably they've got the most story. It's got the
most storytelling and the hardest franchise to enter into of all of Nintendo franchises. Is still like easy to play.
Yeah, although I do
like, confusion.
I don't know if I would jump into just like Metroid Prime 3. I think I would want to play Metroid Primes 1 through 3.
I agree, but also that was the same generation I highlighted earlier.
Exactly,
that's the same.
So I bet you that Metroid Prime 4 is going to be enough.
Oh, it's going to be like just jump in. It's going to
definitely
for every new player. But Nintendo has consistently been Zelda, Mario, Star Fox, F-Zero, everything you can think of Smash Bros. Like all of those Fire Emblems, they're all like single entry games. You can just jump in at any point.
Yeah,
because I've never felt intimidated to jump in.
Yep.
And if you think about their past, even like Sonic the Hedgehog. That's Sega, right?
Yep.
That's like each game doesn't matter. Sonic 1, 2, 3, Knuckles, whatever. Just play a Sonic game. It's fine. Yep. Just jump in.
Yeah, I can't think of any other strategies than the ones we've highlighted, so I think we've summed that up pretty well. Cool.
Yeah.
Well, what are your thoughts, listeners, Pod Smashers? What are games that you have jumped in mid-franchise and enjoyed? What are games that you're intimidated by? Franchises you're intimidated by due to their long entries and whether or not. And tell us your experiences. Whether you think that, whether you've had those experiences or not. So we want to hear from you.
And if you're a completionist like myself, where you want to experience the full story of a franchise, but don't have time and are hesitant to do so, that's my That's Termite right there in a nutshell. I would
maybe
like
you
to
do
play...
have time. Maybe you have more time than us, and so we want to hear from your experiences. What are the games that you're currently consuming and going back and exploring? And we can live vicariously through you.
Right? Yeah. Let us know. Like I said, the easiest barrier of entry for us is Discord. The link is in all of our social media platform posts as well as our episode notes. So hit that link, jump in on Discord, and jump into the conversation. You can start a thread on Reddit. We have a subreddit, 80bit Podsmash. Hit us up there. 80bitpodsmash.com is our landing website where you can find links to all of our stuff. If you are on a different platform than we exist, please let us know. We'll put ourselves there.
Sounds great. Next week is loading. Oh no, that's right. Next week we're going to be doing a developer profile. That's a long-standing series we have where we do a deep dive on and a highlight on a specific developer and the games they've made and their history and all that stuff.
You guys might be interested to know how we chose the developer itself, is we had to do a coin flip.
We did.
Because we had two developers to talk about that were both very relevant.
Developers, from this fall.
And that is Obsidian.
Obsidian, who made Outer Worlds, and Valve, who just announced Half-Life Alyx.
Right.
And we had just talked, the reason I even possibly threw a wrench to confound our plans is because we just one episode ago last week, we talked about Half-Life Alyx, and I was editing the episode, and I was like, man, we literally said we should do a developer profile on Valve.
Yep.
But we flipped a coin, and it landed on Obsidian. I think it's a good choice, because Outer Worlds is already out, so their latest game is out, and they have an interesting history and interesting past, especially as they relate to Bethesda.
And it's Star Wars relevant for Episode 9, because they made Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic.
Yeah, perfect.
So Obsidian is perfect.
So Obsidian is a great choice, and then we'll definitely do Valve again later, especially as closer to when Half-Life Alyx comes out in March. So, all right, then you have that developer profile to look forward to. We'll see you next week.
See you next week.